Hello, my name is Michael Fortune from folklore.ie and I'm here today thanks to the Arts Department of Clare County Council. I'm here just to give you a run through some handy hints in using your mobile phone for taking photographs, but mostly for video for producing tutorials and also for video for documenting the process, maybe documenting the workshop, and just some kind of handy hints in around that. Now this is a follow-on, little video following on from a course that I would have done with Clare Arts Office with people in County Clare, artists and heritage specialists back in June and July. So what I want to do with you first is I want to look at using your mobile phone. Now, here's my own mobile phone. It's an iPhone 7, so it's a few years old, so it's not a fancy pants phone in any shape or form, but it does the job, right? And it does the job for what I wanted to do. Now, for years, I've been working about 20 years working in video, working with bigger cameras, DSLRs, but also working with mostly kind of video cameras for recording folklore, kind of very localized documentaries, history, that kind of thing, traditional song. But you know what? I find that my mobile phone is the thing that I have in my pocket the whole time. And when I'm out and about, if something crops up, if I meet someone, it's the first thing that'll come out and I'll start recording on this. Now it's got its limitations and it's not like a professional camera, but to be fair, where I show it and where I show this material, usually on social media, on Facebook, and I could put up a video of a recording of a particular word from County Clare that I recorded off some man, and it will get the same amount of views as the big camera. So people, the quality is there. You know, there's limitations with sound and things like that, but people, as I've been saying for 20 years, if the content's engaging, people will watch it. So don't get hung up on the whole idea of having to be super professional, right? It's not. We've gone beyond that. YouTube came along, and as I was saying, for years, we'd watch a cat chasing its tail around the kitchen, right? I'm not saying that's high art or high film, but it just shows you that people can actually, we can choose what we watch, and we can watch content that are material, and we kind of go, okay, camera's not the best, but the content's engaged, and I'll watch that, and that gives you a great position to be in. And really, this little session and the sessions that I did with the arts department was just really to get you up that ladder, up in the first and second rung of the ladder, for people who've never used video or never used their mobile phones before, right, to record stuff. And as we all know, the situation we're all in with COVID and people not getting back into classrooms and people needing to move a lot of their work online, we were starting to work, myself here and my partner Aileen Lambert, since March. We were just been working straight out of the traps in this area. We suppose we've had years of experience of working in it, so this is really just to share with you some of that information. And I've literally, as a practitioner, I've seen people working with people all over the country in the last 6-7 months. I've seen people's skills levels rise and rise, and people are taking on new ways of working and new ways of doing things, and these things are a really handy tool in that. For we can make tutorials for classrooms, we can make tutorials for something we're making ourselves. We could be a ceramicist, or we could be a painter, or we could be a musician or a poet. So there's loads of ways in which you can use it. And as I said, it's a short introductory workshop, so bear with me. Right, your mobile phone. The things that I would suggest most people end up using it for, one in these days, is you use it for making maybe a tutorial, 10-15 minute tutorial, where you're making a tutorial that can be sent around to different sources, schools, music groups, whatever it would be. Second kind of thing that I would see it being used would be out and about kind of field recording. Say you'd have it actually in your hand, and you might be out recording someone in a shed making something out with his hands or her with her hands, and you record them. And the third kind of way that I would see it being used would be in the use of maybe documenting workshops or a scenario, or documenting something. You know, like maybe you could even be making something, and you could do little shots, little 10-second shots. And I'll go through those kind of three things with you in a while, right? But the first thing I want to kind of talk to you about is your actual mobile phone. Like my phone is an iPhone 7, so it's a couple of years old. Just to point out that the best camera is the one on the back of it, right? Not the one on the front. It's the one on the back is the best camera, right? And one of the things that I find is that my one shoots 4K, which means it's high definition, super quality video. But you know what? I don't use it. I set it to 1080. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my own screen here with you now on my phone. I'm going to press record. And I'm going to run through the buttons that I use. So if you go to, like, everyone's phone is going to be different, so I won't have time to go into everyone. But if you go into, for example, you go into your settings and go down to your camera, and when you go to your camera, you will be able to see that your video settings, you've got options to shoot in. See the video record option here. My one gives me an option for 4K, or it also gives me an option of 1080 high definition at 30 frames per second. That's the setting that I have. 1080h at 30 frames per second. Now if you've got loads of memory, you can shoot in 4K, but just to let you know that your video, you will use much more memory up on your phone by shooting in 4K. I work on a basic principle that 10 minutes is equal to 1 gigabyte of data. Sorry, 1 gigabyte of memory space, right? So basically if you want to make a 10-minute film, make sure you've got 1 gigabyte free. I kind of run with the kind of principle of keeping maybe 3 to 4 gigabytes free on my phone. And here's it's a first world problem we're all in. You can buy this phone has got 256 gigabytes on it, and still I'm fighting for space in the last couple of minutes. For the last couple of gigabytes. So that's a common thing. We're probably all facing that. You're probably doing the same yourselves. But work on that principle. So if you're going to shoot something, work on that thing in the back of your head. If it's going to be 60 minutes long, you're going to have to allocate the amount of gigabyte space for that. Because there's no point you going shooting something and you're in the middle of it, and next minute your memory is full, right? Another thing, and actually handy little simple thing, I know you probably know it yourselves, but even just to plug in your phone, make sure you've got power in your phone. Don't like going setting up to do an hour-long interview with someone and your phone goes dead after 20 minutes. So make sure you have enough power. If you're shooting outside, you can buy little power packs. You can get those as well. If you feel like you're going to lose your phone might die, these little power packs you buy. You can see them in any kind of bigger supermarkets around those places for 10 to 15 euros, and they just plug in to give you an extra little boost of power. So that's that kind of principle of the space that you need, right? Now, here's the thing that I find. I'm going to look at the whole area of which way do you hold your phone. Do you go landscape or do you go portrait, right? Now, I found I was editing hundreds and hundreds of videos over the last, people were sending me videos for certain projects and I was editing up other people's footage. By and large, I stick with this principle, go landscape. Go 98% of the time I shoot in landscape, right? I shoot in landscape because that's the format that's going to be shown on maybe a telly, could be a library setting, or it could be even on Facebook or YouTube, or back into a tutorial in a classroom, right? Landscape, right? Reasons for portrait, well, it's handy, but what happens if you start shooting in portrait, you'll start getting, when you try to put it onto a large screen, widescreen television, you'll start having to put blurry spots on the side of it, right? That can be a problem. I don't like the look of it myself personally. Whatever you do, don't go start shooting one part of your film like this, next minute you turn your phone like that, and then you start getting different formats, and you're actually walking yourself into a minefield come the editing process, right? So pick one and stick with it. As I said to you, there is a small percentage now with social media, i.e. like Instagram and Facebook, where video formats have changed because they're all suiting the format of our television. So sometimes when people are doing a Facebook live video, especially musicians, say if there was a guitarist or maybe someone who's playing drums or djembe or whatever they could be playing, where you want to see all their hands and their body, so you don't want a whole shot like this where you see half their room, but you want it like that. So you can do that. I'm not saying there's no fixed rules, but by and large for tutorials and stuff, I'd go landscape, right? So you might consider that kind of the portrait thing for that kind of thing. You might also consider, what I would do was, I would tend to, if I needed to make a video up for Facebook, I would actually crop the original landscape video. So I'd crop that in the editing program InShot, which I'm going to show you later on. So you could do that as well, right? So you could just crop it. And if needs be, if you're said you're going to solely just go shoot it, you can just shoot that way, whatever, and again in portrait and crop the top and bottom for maybe Instagram or Facebook. But take it from me, I tend to go with this format, right? Now, that's the format thing. Few different things that you're going to face, right, is you're going to say, what am I going to be filming, right? Most people nowadays are going to be filming tutorials, i.e. like exactly what I'm doing here, a camera locked off on a tripod and you in front of it performing, whatever it is, performing songs or doing something or demonstrating something, right? Now, for that you will need one thing, you need something to keep your camera or your phone steady. Right? Now, there are no end tripods, and what I loved about the whole lockdown at the start was how creative people were. This is one of the easiest ones of all. So basically, if you're going to do a tutorial, you're going to set yourself up in a space, you're going to set your camera up, but you need the camera locked off. So you need your phone locked off. Right, so I'll show you loads of examples in a while, but this is one of the ones that kept cropping up with me. An old Pringles container. Literally, put a few slits in it, and put your phone down in it, and get your phone raised up maybe in a pile of books or a stool, whatever you have, to get it to the right height, and there you have your tripod. No one's ever going to see what this is, right? You won't go film on the Cliffs of Moher now with this because it'll get blown over, but you know, it's a great one for filming inside. And other little make and do, because I'm going to start at right at the bottom and work my way up to the top for you. Lego, bits of Lego. This has been, we've been using this for years, even like in workshop settings. Little bits of Lego made up for tripods. Again, raise them up and raise them down to whatever you suit. No one will see what you have, right? Another simple thing again, old-fashioned, simple one again is two cups or 2 mugs, and put them in between again like that, and there you have. As long as no one's going to be knocking the table or the stool where that's on, that'll do the job for you, right? Right. So that's a kind of make and do in DIY, right? But there are loads of other cheaper ways again. You can buy it really, these little small tripods for I think about €152, and they all come with this, so they're perfect if you need it again on a stool or a pile of books. Set up your shot and make sure stick a bit of blue tack there maybe at the end so it keeps it steady. You won't go, I said, you won't go filming outside on top of a cliff now with this because it'll get blown over, but for inside work it's perfect, right? Once there's nothing going to knock it over. One of the things I like about these little cheap tripods is they come with a little head, and the little head screws off, and that little head actually fits the heads on these tripods here. These are little cheap tripods that you can buy from maybe 10-15 euros. Light little tripods. But they come with a universal head that kind of clips on like that. And you literally just get your head from there, screw that on like that, and they're all the same size, and literally stick it back on here then. And you've got a proper little tripod again, and it gives you the chance to go up and down and stuff like that. Again, I found I was working with people with music generation over the last couple of months. Again, people didn't have tripods, but you'd have a mic stand in the house. Throw a mic stand up, throw a few elastic bands around it, and you're sorted. So there's no end to this. Now you can go buy better ones again. You can buy these on. You can probably get them somewhere local as well, or you get them online. They're stronger, and again they work on that same principle again. They screw in there, and you put your phone in there like that. And you can also get them for any who are working with tablets or iPads. The same crack again. You can buy these again, and they're just, and you put your tablet here and put it onto your tripod, right? So you will need a bigger tripod for a tablet because it'll just fall over on you. So that's how you would. There's no end of a few other yokes here I've seen people using as well. Actually, look. Yokes for Jeep for your car. They can work stuck on windows as well, or even little clamps like this. So we can buy these in some of the bigger supermarkets, Aldi or Lidl, whatever. Clamp on to your phone. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share on screen. I'm going to share something you might consider buying. You can buy things like ring lights or O-lights. They're you get them on Amazon or eBay, but get them locally as well. And basically they're little lights where you'll actually put your mobile phone in, and you also have a ring of lights, and you have a little controller on it for controlling light. And I'll touch on light in a second, but you can get these kind of combo units that are really handy. And again, they're not that expensive. And then you can get other tripods like Gorilla tripods. Gorilla tripods are really sturdy ones that you can wrap the legs around things. So there's no end, but I'm just showing you at the bottom rung up to the top how you can get yourself set up for using a tripod. So, and that's all you need. Like I said, I always found what was the most kind of interesting thing for me, even working on the digital media in the master's program down in the art college in Limerick with young teacher trainers, and everyone was locked down and we're all at home this year. But how creative people were in finding fixes to what they had, right? And I always ask people to document that process, because that process is as interesting as what's going on in front of it sometimes, I always find. But so yeah, so that's you have no excuses, basically what I'm saying to you, right? So that's a kind of a standard shop where you set up a tripod and you want to lock it off and put you in the middle of it and record and talk, right? Another way you might consider using your mobile phone would be, say you're doing, probably won't be doing workshop scenarios now, but say you were doing something, say someone was demonstrating, someone in your house at home was demonstrating someone. I would tend, because I always find even when I was doing workshops, you'd always find you could be in the middle of something and you'd forget to document it. And video is as easy as taking a photograph, really, and especially with this app InShot where you can edit up stuff so easily, right? So, like say for example, there was a scenario happening here. I would literally get my phone and I would stand back and I would get 10 seconds. I work with this kind of, I call them little Lego blocks, 10 seconds. So 10 seconds of a wide shot of, say, a group. Then I'd walk up closer, 10 seconds. Then I'd go there, 10 seconds. Then I'd go there, 10 seconds. And what I do is I build up these little maybe 20 10-second clips. And that will give me enough material then to make maybe a little 3-minute promotional video if I ever wanted to make a promotional video for an application or whatever I wanted to use it for, or even just simply just to document the process of a project. And that could be anything, right? So that's a really, really handy thing. So you don't just walk up and down and get your shots, get your 10-second shots. Don't press record and do loads of this and move around, right? That doesn't work sometimes for me if you're after that particular type of shot. So, and it also makes a nightmare for you to edit. So you're better off with those little Lego blocks, because that makes life easier for you in InShot when you're going to be editing on your phone. One thing I also found as well was sometimes if you're out in a scenario and someone may be doing something, say someone's making something with their hands, making a coil pot, you could press record, hold it with your hands, and you go, and the person is talking, they're talking to the camera, telling you what they're doing, and then you're moving down with your hands like that. And that can work well too. That kind of it's a longer live take as such, you know. And you know what? People don't mind. We've got to a stage. I saw some over the years working as artists. We worked with video, not film, and I saw so much gloss with video editing, and filmmakers were I found it was just gloss, and everything was all about the technique and the lighting and all this kind of stuff. And we've got used to that since the advent of social media and YouTube and all that. We don't mind it. Now, artists had that mindset for years, but the film guys didn't have it, and television certainly didn't have it. We got used to that space where things don't have to have a sheen or a gloss, because you see through it and it dates as well. So don't mind if you have the, you know, again, content. So for example, if someone was making something, you can do those long shots, all right, okay. So but that's very different than doing a tutorial like I'm showing you here now, right? So there are kind of 3 kind of ways that would work, that can work really well. Now, once you decide to set up what you're going to do, in most cases people will be doing a tutorial, and this goes for any kind of shooting as well. One of the things you really need to consider is your light. Now, light is it can let you down big time, right? Now, as I'm shooting here to you, I've got a window in front of me, I've got a window over there. Now I've got 2 little windows sneaking in the background there. Normally that's not ideal, right? But the light is not directly on my face, right? Or on the back of my head. If you film someone with a window right at the back of their heads, their face is going to look dark. The camera will compensate from the light coming in, and their face will look dark. So just be careful with that. So when you set up your shots, make sure you say, okay, I'm inside, I'm going to use as much natural light as I can. I've got a window there, a patio door there, and set that shot up. Don't worry about moving. I do it all the time. Move furniture around, move kitchen tables around, do whatever you need to do, but to get your shot set up, and get your shot set up and locked off, and get the light you can. You can also use things like, if you need an extra little bit of a little burst of light, you can use bedside lamps. Like you can use, little doctored up fluorescent lights. You get these in Aldi or Lidl or wherever you want to get them at all. Just little LED lights. If you want to spend some money, you can go out and buy some LED lights themselves, like little blocks of lights like these. These are fantastic. Again, prices of these have come right down. You're talking maybe 50-60 euros. Dimmable LED lights. I use this on my big camera. Works with the camera batteries. Also works on power. So they're really handy, right? So that's another thing. So you go online, you'll find loads of examples. Lighting has come right down due to LED technology. A couple of years ago, studio lights were really expensive, right? So that's been a game changer as well for many of us working in this area. So there's no excuse to, really with light. Also, remember I was showing you those ring lights. They actually come with that little circle of light, and they come with a little dimmer, and you can just plug them into your plug on your phone, plug them in, and get the light right. One thing that I noticed, because I'm wearing glasses here, is that just be careful, anyone who wears glasses, sometimes those ring lights can give a reflection in your light, on your eyes, so sometimes you might have to put a light to your left or to your right, so you're not getting that reflection. But that's the only thing. I keep a check out for those. And again, you're talking anything from 10 to 30 euros, that kind of price. So again, well worth doing if you're going to be doing this for, you know, down the line. So light is important. One thing, if you're setting up a shot inside, just be careful. Sometimes it's happened to me. You could have a lovely shot set up, an hour later the sun comes in the window, and next minute you're bleached out. So just keep a check on that. Keep a check where the sun is, right? Sometimes actually, in most cases, a dull day is the way to go, you know, because you don't have that intense light, that bright light. So a dull day can be great, and we'll be giving out about it in Ireland, but sometimes it can be fantastic. It's to your advantage. Other things to bear in mind now would be your distance from your microphone, right? Now, so you get your shot set up, you got your lights set up. Your little microphone is on your camera here, right? There's also a little mic here for talking, but the little mic there is there. Now, the actual frame of your shot will actually dictate the distance. So most cases I work on the principle of 3 to 4 foot. 3 to 4 foot away, you have your camera away. Now, if a 3 to 4 foot shot away, landscape will probably give you a head and shoulder shot. If you want to go an extra, maybe half a foot or a foot, it'll give you a little bit of a wider shot. So I'm in the middle here, so you're getting that kind of a shot just above the head and just here. This is slightly wider because for this demonstration, but in most cases people go like that, right? And if you start going further back, the microphone it won't pick up as much, right? So the quality is probably better that 3 to 4 foot away, right? So just to bear that in mind. Inside, you're sorted, you're grand. There's going to be no wind coming in. You're okay. Your microphone will behave itself, right? But if you go outside, you're going to, and it's lovely filming outside. Now, when you go outside, if you've got a lovely dull day, you're sorted with light. That's the most important thing. You've got lovely light. You can get light on your face or the sun, even the covered sun on your face. That can be sorted. But wind is the problem. So even on the finest, the sunniest of the day, it'll pick up sound, it'll pick up wind, right? And again, this is back to the whole quality of filming and what the purpose of something. Why do we do something? As I said to you, like content's engaging. So we make excuses. We're so used to now of things being not as professional as not as like they're not high-end film productions, and that's okay, and that's what's really powerful as far as in my area of work anyway, with folklore and people recording the local stuff on the ground, because stuff that would never have been recorded by production companies or national broadcasters wouldn't have went near it. So people recording stuff themselves that we would never got. 20 years I've been saying this, right? So these are game changers. So you won't mind a little bit of wind, I'd say, on a microphone. People will go, okay, a little bit of wind, but if the wind is consistent in a shot, you'll get tired of it and you will turn off. So you have to fix that, right? Now, a few things. If I'm out and about and I meet someone and someone's showing me something, I've only got my phone in my pocket and I say, right, I don't have my big camera with me. I would turn me back to the wind, I would set up my shot, and I would use my hands here just to cup the phone, just to keep the wind off it a bit, right? So that helps a bit. Also, if you're out and about, you've got I always keep a big umbrella in the back of the car. Again, same story again. Big golf umbrella over your shoulders, back to the wind, and come in nice and tight, and have your subject or your person there, and just use that to block the wind. Now that will get you out of a hole, and it can work grand. But you might get the odd little puff of wind here and there. But if you're looking to say, right, I'm going to be doing more outside filming, there's loads of great things you can do. One is you can buy a little external microphone for your phone. Rode is an Australian company, make really little handy ones. I'll just pull them up now on my screen to show you, and you literally plug them in. You get them, they're slightly cheaper for Androids compared to Apple's, and they just come on to here, and they come with a little wind muffler, so they're really handy to plug in. I worked on a folklore collection project with a men's shed group here in Wexford last year, and some of the men bought these, and they're really handy. Little bit of setting up to do, right, but they're really handy as a little piece of kit you can have with you that you can use, and perfectly fine, because the video quality on these phones it's actually really good, right? And so don't let anyone say to you, oh no, it's not, it's not this, because maybe I told you this before. Over the years I'd meet friends who were saying they were going to make a film. You'd meet him, oh no, I didn't. You'd meet him one day, and oh no, I'm going to make something next year. I'll make it now. I need a certain camera. Then you'd meet him a year later. Did you make that film? No, I need a certain microphone. And then you'd meet him 5 years later, and the film was never made. So right, basically work with the tools you have the best you can. That's all you can do, right? And believe me, they're getting better and better. Now, so that's the little Rode microphones. There's also another little Rode microphone that you plug in, and I'm going to show you this on the screen here now as well. You plug it in, and that's a really handy one if you're doing interviewing kind of stuff. So it gives you two options for microphones. So you can put one little mic in and clip it onto the person that's talking, and maybe one onto yourself, or maybe even two onto two people, whatever your setup is going to be. It also gives you a little jack for a headphone, so you can listen to the headphone, you can listen back and monitor the sound. That's on the same one as well, right? So that's a really handy little piece of kit and it's not that expensive considering the scale of what camera gear was years ago, and it's brilliant. What I found, they were really good, really ups the microphone quality here. Here's one of the little microphones I would use. These are about €50. I got these from Thoman. These are little ones you clip on here, absolutely brilliant, and little wind mufflers on them, and little for studio or for outside. Handy out, right? So you could have one on your person you're talking to and one on yourself, right? Always be conscious if you're recording yourself, keep your own voice down a little bit, because you don't have levels and stuff. So there are disadvantages with this, but you work around it. We work around all those things, right? And it's, you know, and it really depends on how you're going to use it. So that's a really handy little add-on for your microphone, for your phone. Those mics are. I'm trying to figure out now what other kind of sound stuff. I don't record. People will tell you, oh, you need to record your sound separately. You need to record your sound separately and edit. This is not you. This is for someone else. This is not for most people who are going to be shooting something on their phone and bringing it in shot, right? That's for bigger production stuff. And to be fair, in my area of work with folklore collecting, quick recording, I don't do it. I bring my sound and all in. I monitor it, but I bring it all into the one camera and record it all in one, because it saves on production and it saves on the extra editing, which you know, you have to figure out where is this going to be shown, right? And like on average, you know, it's the, you know, you're getting anything from 5,000 to 8,000 views on a video clip as soon as you put it up on Facebook, and it's really localized stuff, and that's really proof that people actually are interested in that. Whether I'd watch something from Donegal or from Clare or from Longford, same thing, or from Tyrone, same thing. That localized stuff is really interesting, and the power that we have to record that stuff, and that's what's lovely, I think, about these tools when they're used right. So that's the win thing. So bear that in mind. You might need it, right? But just the option is there for you. Now, one thing that I didn't cover the whole idea of framing. Now, this depends, again, it depends on a few different things, right? But for a standard tutorial, if you're going to be doing a tutorial for a classroom or a practice that you're doing, most people kind of tend, the classic one is a straight down the middle shot. So it's very like me, camera set up, I'm looking head and shoulder shot, and I'm looking straight to the camera, talking to you, talking as if I'm talking to the people, right? You can turn slightly sideways and put a slightly turn on your side, turn on your body, and turn and look at the camera. You can do that. You can go left or right, and you look across the screen if you're maybe talking to an interview, if you're being interviewed, or look straight to the camera. I hope that makes sense to you now. So basically, just to give you an example, I could put more of a turn on my body here, come more to the side, put more of a turn on my body, and look straight out to the camera as if I'm talking to you. That's a technique I've been using for folklore collecting for about 20 years, and it kind of just feels that you're looking out to the person, you're talking to the person outside. The other kind of one then would be a kind of a shot. Say I met someone and I was recording a word he was saying, and I would have my head here and I would have the person there over here, and the person would be looking across to me in my eyes. So they're looking across the screen, looking into my eyes, right? So that's slightly off. You'd see that for interviews, for a lot of television based stuff, and they're very simple. I know I'm kind of giving you kind of three kind of fixed things here. I know there are no hard and fast rules with regard to types of shots, but that tends to work well, right? One thing that we found over the years that works really well is this shot here is actually slightly high. I'm up slightly high in this case, looking down on the table. But by and large, when I'm doing a tutorial or say just straight out talking, I would have the camera at eye level. And any of the folklore work I would do, folklore collection work, I would keep the camera at eye level, and you're always looking at the person. And sometimes I would keep my own head down behind the camera and just keep eye contact with the person I'm interviewing. So that works really. To me, that works well. Also find if you're working with young people, like we did, like the Banshee lives in the handball alley down in Limerick back in 2004 and 5, and we done loads of recording. The folklore with young people is don't have the cameras up high. Have the camera at the same level as the child. Get down and set the camera up, so then there's no kind of imbalance of power as such. You know, the child is looking at you looking out in the same way. So just to keep a check on that. So I've covered lighting, and I've covered the setting up the shot, right, and the sound. Now, one thing I'm going to have to ask, you're going to have to do you're going to have to set up your own shots. And you're going to have to make mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn by doing this, is by setting up your shot and making a mistake and doing it wrong. It's like, God, I should have moved the camera more like that. I should have the lighting there better. But you're going to have to do that. And I'd encourage anyone starting, like, this is what's lovely about this is we're all learning. There's a big learning process going on, a huge learning process going on for so many people. And that's all really, really good. And that's all really positive as far as I can see. So set up your shots and try it out. Now, you might need someone like to give you a hand, right? Obviously. You can go set it up and come back around and see you're right, but you can't do that on a big camera. You can, because you've got a screen to turn around. You can look at yourself and position it, but on your mobile phone you don't. So get someone with you and set up the tripod, and literally come here to be the tripod, the bag, the pile of books on the table, whatever it is, and get that shot fixed. And you can even ask that person then to press record and walk out of the room, and then you just do your performance then, right? Or even you can have someone there just to monitor it as well. Whatever you want to do, but having a second person there is really, really helpful. And there's a couple of reasons why, and I'm going to show you now. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want to show you a little function on your phones. And again, phones are slightly different, so bear with me, right? So I'm going to open up my screen here now, and I'm going to turn on my camera. And my camera's on sideways here. And if you look, you can see, I'm going to get this Pringles container here as an example. If you look, you can see if you hold your finger on the screen, it will do a thing called AEAF lock, right? That means I think it's an auto exposure, auto focus lock. So that means that's manually locked. So basically, the reason you might use this, now you don't have to, the reason you might have a lock function on it, or locked focus function on it is, if you're the kind of person who's very animated with your hands and your camera's looking, recording, and it's kind of going, what am I focusing on? Your hands or your face, or your hands or your face, and the camera can kind of blur in and out, right? This allows you basically to say, you would focus in on the Pringle on the face there, and no matter how many times you put your hands in there in front of that, the face will stay focused. And you can use that autofocus lock to any part of the screen. You just hold your finger in and that'll pop up, and that means that part of the screen is locked off. Might be handy for some of you, right? Also, come here, another little handy thing on your phone is if you look, you click anywhere on the screen. Again, some phones are slightly different. If you click anywhere on the screen, you get a little sun button come up, a little sun icon, and literally you get your finger, you click it and you go up and down. It makes it brighter or darker. Now that's a handy little function as well, in case you want to just tweak the light slightly, right? Piece of advice from me, I find if something's too bright, you're at a loss. If it's dark, at least, if it's too dark, you can actually make it a little bit brighter in post-production. But if it's too bright, it's not recorded, the information isn't there, so, right? But to be fair, 95% of the people I'm working with who are doing tutorials at home don't use manual focus and don't go near that function. But I'm just showing it to you there just in case, right? Another little function, if you look as well, you'll see those little grids I have on my phone, and they're handy sometimes for setting up a shot, so you can actually get the landscape right. You get it just can help you frame a shot, so you've got like the left, the middle, and the right, and that's a handy little function as well. If you can't find them on your phone, go into camera. And there should be a little thing like grid lines, add grid lines, a little button you click. Now, unfortunately, we've all got so many different types of phones, they're all going to be quite different. So that's a little thing called grid lines, and I'm sure it's on most phones when you go looking, right? If not, just do a little quick Google and you'll find it, right? So that's that handy function there. I'm trying to figure out other functions on mobile phones, or do's and don'ts. One, come here to me, and this is, you wouldn't realise how common this one is. People filming something, and next minute they turn their phone around. Right? And next minute they're filming that way. So just don't do that. If you're doing that kind of documentary thing of filming someone, don't start turning the phone around. Also, I would tend not to use the zoom. On phones, you can use the zoom function. You can zoom in and out, you know. If you need to get closer to something, go walk closer to it, go get closer to it if you can, right? Sometimes the zoom can be messy and it can be hard to pull back out in and out. So just keep a check on that. Trying to figure out what other kind of handy little hints are there for you at all. No, just all I can say to you is just yeah, do your prep, set up your shots, shoot, and even do little trials, 2-minute trials, 1-minute trials, whatever, and go from there. The only thing I can say, like, as a piece of really practical piece of advice, is just, yeah, make sure you've got enough memory in your space and you've got enough battery power, because that'll keep you going. Other than that, you know, for kind of the video work, that will get you through, and that will get you through to the stage where you can go shoot something, and then the next stage, then you're going to be basically bringing that material into edit, right? And that's where you basically go in and put on your titles, maybe a bit of music, and then you save it and you send it off, and your job is done. And all I can say is I've seen people who took phones into their hands to record workshops back in March and April, and as I watched them grow and grow, as they sent me in videos, I just watched their levels and how comfortable they were, and how good they were with using phones, and how just increase and increase. And the last thing I want to say to you is that just a real personal thing is it's not easy to record yourself. Don't let anyone say to you that it's an easy thing to try to go get a camera and press record and for you to talk. So that's normal. If you've got butterflies in your stomach and you're a bit nervous, that's normal to have that feeling, because it's not, you know, we're not built for this, you know. And even myself, I'm the same as well. It's sometimes the last thing you'd like to do, but here we are, and that's what we have to do. We're doing it, and it's bringing us onto a new level. So listen, all I can say to you is go off and play with your phones and get used to them, and have a look around those links, those things that I showed you, those Olights and maybe those microphones if you need them, and happy filming. And I'll see you in the next tutorial, and we're going to look at the whole process of InShot and video editing. So thanks a million, and thanks for watching.